In this video, I'm going to talk about the transmission of a dirt bike, how the gears shift, what the transmission is used for, and just general information about the transmission. So what is the purpose of your transmission? The first is to transfer torque from the crank to the rear wheel. That is to efficiently make sure that your bike can actually move. The second is to make best use of the power range of the motor, depending on what the motor's use is. So if you're making a bike for racing versus making a bike for street or trail, you're going to want to take that, even if it's the same power spread engine, you're going to want to gear the transmission to make most efficient use of that power range for its intended purpose. To give a simple example of how to best illustrate how your transmission attempts to make best use of your power spread, imagine your current dirt bike. Perhaps it has 5 gears right now. Now imagine that first gear is second gear, and that second gear is actually fifth gear. Now go ride your bike. Try to start out in second. Maybe your bike does, depends on how powerful it is. Maybe your bike has a hard time. And then from there switch directly into fifth gear. Your bike's probably just going to bog down. It's not going to have a lot of pickup. So that's essentially what we're talking about when we mean we want to make best use of the power spread of the motor. So we have to know how long we make the gears, where the power range in your RPM is, so when you switch gears it's a smooth transition. So there are two types of gears. There's gears that spin with the splines, so the shaft and the gears move at the same time, and there are free spinning gears where these gears spin independent of the actual shaft. If your clutch is engaged, your transmission is spinning. However, there is a concept of neutral, where even though your transmission is spinning, your rear wheel is not engaged. This is done by having gears that are free spinning on the shafts paired with gears that actually spin with the shafts. This is the layout of the transmission for a 1982 Maicos 490. Switching it into neutral, we see that gear E on the main shaft is turning gear E on the lay shaft. However, gear E on the main shaft is spinning with the spline, but gear E on the lay shaft is not. The same thing for gear B. This is how neutral is achieved, by making gears that actually spin with the splines paired with gears that do not spin with the splines. Shifting is done with something called gear dogs. These are teeth that are on the side of the gears, and these fit the gear either with inserts into other gears or with other dogs, and they make two gears spin as one unit. So you put free spinning gears next to gears that spin directly on the shaft. Back to our diagram, we have gear E on the main shaft and gear E on the lay shaft forming first gear. Whenever you shift into first gear, gear D on the lay shaft engages its dogs into gear E on the lay shaft. This allows gear E and D to spin as a single unit. Thus, when gear E on the main shaft turns gear E on the lay shaft, they spin the lay shaft, which ends up spinning the sprocket and engaging the rear wheel. Gears are moved around in the transmission using something called a shifting fork. A shifting fork goes into a gear, and whenever the shifting cam or shifting plate in the Maicos moves, it moves that gear on the actual shaft and pulls gears together, pulls gears apart. This pattern on the shifting plate or shifting cam actually is how the transmission shifts into different gears. This is also known as a shift pattern, and please note that the gears are not in order in the transmission. They are in order of convenience for the shifting. The Maicos actually has a shifting plate. The following diagram shows the position of the shifting forks for each gear. note that while other bikes may have a circular shifting cam, the concept is exactly the same. And that's basically your transmission in a nutshell. You have a shifting cam, which positions the shifting forks. The shifting forks are attached to the gears. Move the gears together in place. Gears that spin with the splines and gears that spin freely on the splines. Gears come together so the gears that spin freely now turn the spline. The teeth on the gears essentially make up the speed and the torque transfer from the engine to the rear wheel. That's essentially how your transmission works.